Have you ever thought you knew exactly how your weekend was going to unfold? Maybe you expected the usual chores, familiar routines, a little quiet time. That was Mary's plan, too. At 62, she'd mastered resilience, weathering everything from cross-country moves to empty nest syndrome. But when her daughter Lisa called with a simple question, "Will you take Ethan for the weekend?" Mary's script flipped in ways she hadn't anticipated. Now, you might be thinking, isn't babysitting just another chore? But here's the twist. This wasn't about obligation. It was about stepping into a new role, a co-adventurer, not just a caregiver. Psychologists call this role transition. We're constantly redefining ourselves based on life's invitations. Like an actor handed a new script, Mary accepted, not quite knowing the journey ahead. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the magic begins. Let me tell you a story. As Mary hung up the phone, she could have said no, stuck to her safe routines. But instead, she saw an opportunity. Not just to entertain her grandson, but to create memories that might matter more than either of them realized. This is what psychologists call a pivot point. One of those moments when you make a small decision that ripples through your life. So, the stage was set. A hotel stay with a 9-year-old, a suitcase, and a willingness to expect the unexpected. Why does this matter? Because often, the biggest changes come not with a bang, but with a phone call or an offhand request. It's easy to miss the significance. Yet these are the moments that shape the stories we tell ourselves. And as we'll see, the memories that shape who we become. So next time life hands you a surprise, ask yourself, is this just an errand? Or is it the beginning of a new chapter? For Mary, it was the latter, and her adventure was only just beginning. Let's follow Mary as she packs her suitcase and steps into the unknown, hand in hand with Ethan, ready for a weekend that would quietly rewrite the contours of both their lives. Now, picture this. A modest hotel lobby, the friendly hum of travelers, and Mary clutching Ethan's hand. It wasn't the Ritz, but it didn't need to be. Sometimes, all it takes is a change of scene to unlock something new. In psychology, we call this novelty effect, the way an unfamiliar environment can heighten our senses, making memories stickier and emotions sharper. Why do you remember childhood vacations so vividly? It's not just the place, it's the feeling of adventure, no matter how small. Ethan's eyes sparkled at the pool, the pancakes for dinner, the novelty of sharing a room with Grandma. And, for Mary, every moment was a reminder of the true currency of relationships, attention. Now you might wonder, isn't it just swimming in bedtime stories? But think about this. Neurobiologists talk about mirror neurons, the way our brains light up in response to empathy and shared joy. When Mary encouraged Ethan in the pool, or marveled at his drawings, her brain and his were literally syncing up. That's connection, distilled. Let me pause to ask you, have you ever felt closer to someone just by being fully present? Those moments of laughter, of listening without distraction, are what make us feel seen. For Ethan, Grandma's attention turned a simple getaway into an adventure. For Mary, it turned a weekend into a memory she'd treasure for years. But every adventure comes with its challenges. Later, as quiet settled and the novelty faded, deeper feelings surfaced. Loneliness, vulnerability, these came knocking in the dark. And yet, facing them together transformed a fleeting break into something profound. So, the next time you're tempted to dismiss little adventures as trivial, remember, it's not about luxury or spectacle. It's about presence, empathy, and the courage to show up with an open heart, and maybe a suitcase full of snacks. Let's shift gears, because the real heartbeats of this story often happen after dark. It's easy to connect over pancakes or pool games, but what about when loneliness creeps in? That night, as Ethan asked, "Do you ever get lonely when Grandpa is away?" Mary was caught off guard. Here's the setup. Both are alone in unfamiliar beds, the day's distractions behind them. Neuroscientists would call this a moment of emotional attunement. When vulnerability surfaces, there's an opening for real connection. Now, you might be thinking, shouldn't adults always have the answers? But Mary didn't hide her feelings. She admitted, sometimes, yes. She modeled honesty, a lesson more powerful than any bedtime story. That's the conflict. Battling the urge to keep things neat and tidy, to shield children from our own struggles. When Ethan had his nightmare, the hotel room became their little sanctuary. Imagine midnight, a small hand grasping yours, the darkness pressing in. Mary reassured him, "I'm here. I'll always be here." Attachment experts call this secure base, the sense that someone has your back, no matter what. It's what helps children and adults face the unknown. Let me ask you, when was the last time you let someone see your own vulnerability? When you offered comfort not from strength, but from shared humanity? These moments, as small as they seem, are the glue that binds us. So, while the night was stormy with shadows and worries, the resolution was this. By meeting each other's fears, Mary and Ethan formed a bond deeper than either could have planned. Sometimes, the most lasting memories are forged not in the sunshine, but in the quiet, dark hours, when we choose to reach out and hold on tight. By Sunday morning, suitcases were packed and the end was in sight. But here's the thing. What lingered wasn't the hotel's amenities, but the invisible threads woven between Mary and Ethan. Cognitive scientists talk about episodic memory, the way we store not just facts, but the feelings attached to experiences. Sharing ice cream on a park bench, picking wildflowers, or waving to Grandpa over video chat, these become touchstones, anchoring us in love and belonging. Now, you might ask, does a single weekend really matter? Research says yes. Quality time, what psychologists label as attuned interaction, has outsized effects, especially for children. But it's not just for them. For Mary, the weekend rekindled her sense of purpose, combating the isolation that can settle in as we age. Let me paint a picture. As they drove home, Mary realized that the adventure wasn't about distance traveled, but about letting herself be changed by another person. That's the real resolution here. Connection is both simple and profound, made up of tiny choices to show up, listen, and be present. So, what's your takeaway? Maybe it's to say yes to an unexpected invitation, to cherish the small moments, or to reach out when you feel alone. Our lives are built from these quiet turning points, ordinary days that become extraordinary in hindsight. As Mary and Ethan's story reminds us, you don't have to travel far for transformation. Sometimes, all it takes is a weekend, a hotel room, and the courage to let someone hold your hand in the dark.